live on the mic. Here we go.
Let me when to go. No.
And
He'll point at you.
5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It is lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode 251 is entitled Spotting the Moment. Each day presents us with multiple opportunities to join other in their emotions. How do we recognize these moments? Are there telltale signs and trigger points? And what do we do when these signs are evident so the moment for us to take action doesn't slip away? We'll be talking about that tonight. So, pull up a seat at the table and join us. First-time listeners can subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch us live or later at youtube.com/@lunchtimeinrome. Visit us at www.lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media. And it would be great if you gave us a 5-star review. Brian, what specifically is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you are all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone, and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast and talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is
Lunchtime in
Rome.
Sans
Rome.
J.
Sans J.
Is this only the second time we've done that?
It might be, because like it's very rare. It
Yeah.
might be the second time.
I only remember one other time.
Yeah.
And I'm here instead.
Yeah,
Hey,
Ethan's here.
Hey.
And Chris is back.
I'm back
Yay.
too. I like to, me.
Yeah.
Disappear for a couple weeks, come on
We
back.
got that okra coma going on.
You know it.
You got that teacher summer schedule.
Yeah.
Oh, it's real tough when you go away for 2 weeks on a beach vacation and then you got to return to summer vacation at home. That's real. Yeah.
That's tough, man.
I live a tough.
How do you do it?
Tough summer.
You're such a
Yeah.
turd. But I mean, dude, I could not be a teacher. Even with the temptation of like summers off.
So I'm not saying, see,
I just
and I do when
Well-
people comment on our summers off, I do say, listen, we're very lucky. We have a great schedule.
Yeah.
I do not deny it. Very thankful. Great.
But you get very little PTO.
But
Right,
yes,
yeah.
we during the school year it is crazy. Like just dealing with all
it's
the
a
kids
marathon.
and all the
Yeah.
How does the PTO for you work though? Like, I mean, because you're union, so I'm sure they've
Right.
advocated well and
Yes.
and bargained for you.
Yeah, we
but-
have a nice contract, but like because we have summers off,
Mm-hmm.
like we only get, for example, we'll get 10 sick days a year.
okay.
Yeah.
And,
And then we'll get
like,
a couple personal
You
days.
get a couple
yeah.
personal, but then you do.
I actually
you-
didn't think it was that many.
Yeah, but then you do have like Christmas break,
Right.
And I know it's
Built
usually
in,
a little
yeah.
bit shorter than what the kids get because, generally speaking, it's like maybe a day or two shorter, right? Because like
Not
sometimes
Christmas.
you'll do like in service.
Sometimes, but not around Christmas.
Yeah.
They usually just
they
sort of
give
let
you
that,
off what the
that
kids
go.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but other times, yes.
But yeah,
like
so-
like kids will have like spring break 5 days off, but actually for us it's only 3 days off or something.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, because you're doing clerical or whatever. But so you're back.
Yeah,
and
how was
you were on
Overcooked?
vacation?
We had an amazing time. I mean, as we always do. The weather was incredible. Very little rain. There was one day where we had this decent thunderstorm roll through, but it wasn't like a deal breaker for the whole day.
Yeah.
It was just like half the day. Like the morning was like,
Beach storm. Like it
Yeah,
rains for a
it
couple
just rolled
hours.
through,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there maybe a couple other. I think there's one time it rained in the middle of the night. I didn't even realize it because you wake up and you're like, oh, there's puddles out there.
Yeah.
And then maybe one other time where there was a little shower. So over 2 weeks, like that's not a lot of rain.
Yeah.
And in fact, the locals were talking about how like here, it's been a dry summer, and they're like, oh man, we need some more rain. I'm like, you guys got water like
Yeah, right.
everywhere. What are you talking about?
You're surrounded by an ocean.
But for us, it was really nice that there wasn't too much rain.
So you had no effects of the hurricane because I mean the hurricane
Yeah,
pushed
yeah.
up inland, but
Yeah, and we were gone well before that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We were on our way home before it ever like hit Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When did you guys? Was it Saturday? This past Saturday, you guys got back?
No, because we went. Amy's sister lives in or near Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So our rental ended Sunday, and so Sunday we drove over to their house, which was still like a 6 hour trip.
It's a big state.
Yeah, and we
Yeah,
had to go
5
like,
hours is getting off the island.
Exactly. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
And so we spent like the afternoon, evening with them, which was very nice. And we stayed in a hotel near there, and then drove the 6.5 hours home the next day. Everything's 6.5 hours from
right.
Pittsburgh. So
Right. Yep.
actually, it was like a 7.5
That's
hour
not
trip.
bad,
It
though.
wasn't
That's
bad.
not-
It was
that's
less
not
than I
bad.
thought it would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have to wrangle with getting to the islands and everything. It was just sort of a straight shot.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, had a great time, very relaxed. We missed Ben a ton because he stayed because he's starting his grad work.
First vacation, like
Yeah.
real big vacation without Ben.
Yeah.
That's a big moment, man.
Yeah, and listen, we all know he's such a good boy. And he's,
I want to believe that. Like, I really genuinely want to believe that.
It's true.
But like, I feel, I know, but there's like this
Nobody's that
1% of me that's like,
He's precious.
what does he do
Yeah.
in like the
He's
dark?
precious. When we were at worship practice last night, I was watching Ben, and you can just like Ben would make adjustments to the sound like he
fidgets.
does, and then he was just walking back and forth in the sound booth, and like you could see he was like talking to himself, and he'd be like, he'd like laugh. I'm like, what is he doing right now?
he gets inside his own head
He's
better
having
than
a good
anybody
time.
I know.
It's
He's having a
so
good time.
funny.
But yeah, so Lily and Amy and I all like made this commitment to each other that we're like, okay, we each kind of need to be Ben for each other on this trip. So for example,
Yeah, what does that mean?
so Amy loves to walk there. Like we take our bikes and we ride bikes places, but she likes to walk.
So not from Pittsburgh to Ocracoke. She likes
Correct.
to walk. Okay.
In
gotcha.
Ocracoke.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand.
And so Ben is her walking buddy. And so Lily and I had to become her
Yeah.
walking buddies,
Yeah.
right?
Not really, yeah.
Yeah.
I would rather been on a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
But,
But
that's
It's walkable, but there are places that it's like,
Yeah.
I'd rather be on my bike right now.
hold that thought, because we're going to come back to. I think there's going to be an opportunity for you to come back to that.
Cool.
About Amy would
meeting a
normally
need.
have been.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Little
awesome. You guys did
foreshadowing
that.
to
I'll
the-
say no
to the
more.
That's
topic.
awesome. You guys did that.
We're really working on that though, like the communication of it, like really just
Yeah.
like what is it we need right now?
You guys
Like
have been
this-
working on a lot.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, another teaser because we're not doing it this week, but we returned from our marriage intensive a few weeks ago, and
Yep.
at some point in the near future, Amy and I are going to get on here
Yeah.
on the pod and go over it, and I wanted for Jay to be here because like
Yeah.
He's
we want to bounce
Yeah,
things
he's
back,
been there.
similarities, compare and contrast, and all that sort of stuff. So that'll be good at some point coming up. I'm out again next week, though. I have to
Really?
tell you, yes, because
So
next,
am I.
next Wednesday is our 24th anniversary,
oh wow.
and so we will not be here.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Is there anything new in Ocracoke?
No,
No.
no. There's actually less. There's still a few places that haven't opened up since Hurricane Dorian really hit like Ocracoke directly in 2019.
Oh wow.
And like I think with the economy with COVID and everything, the year right after that, like some places just went under.
Yeah.
Like so they had a ton of repairs and then they couldn't make them. I'm just this is all guesswork, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not decimated or anything, but there's just a few places like
Yeah.
I wish that
Probably
was open.
real easy to take that insurance money and go, you know what? It's been a good run.
Yeah.
Right, probably. Yeah.
It's been a fun week. We've spent a lot of time over at Brian and Ethan's pool,
Nice.
and Maggie is now jumping off the diving board.
To see her take the literal leaps in a very short time.
Yeah.
Weren't
it's an
you just
amazing thing.
talking earlier like well, it's July now. So a month ago you were talking about her being scared of even just
yeah.
jumping off the side.
She's jumping off. She's always jumped off the side,
Okay.
but usually just in like the shallow end.
Okay.
in the shallow end, usually with her
Floaty.
floaty on.
Now she's jumping in off the diving board without her floaty and without me catching her.
Oh wow.
Yep.
And swimming
Yeah.
to the side.
Yep. Yeah, it's awesome.
That is
it's so
amazing.
fun to watch.
As of Saturday, she would not jump off the diving board. I kept trying to make deals with her. She would not jump off the diving board. Sunday, she jumped off the diving board into Eric's arms and swam to him. And then yesterday, she was just like, I'm all in.
Yeah, it was funny because like
awesome.
I was just Brian and I were hanging out having a good conversation, and then you know, all I see is like dee 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 dee, and then she's on the diving board, and she's like, "Daddy, I'm jumping in." I was like, "All right, like, go do it."
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been so fun, but yeah, I love those breakout moments where she overcomes the fear, and because it's like as a parent, like you tell your kid like. It's fine. You're gonna be good. It's safe. You're fine. And then no, I don't want to do it.
Well,
It's for
it's
so
like
long.
what God must be like to us. Like I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
I'm telling you.
can do this.
Yeah.
Well, and I captured a first on video
Yeah.
of the for the Hammond family, Ethan and Maggie jumping into the pool together at the same time.
From the
Like-
diving board?
Well, I think you jumped off the side. Maggie jumped off the diving board, but
Oh, did you say Ethan? You meant Eric.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
Eric,
yeah,
Eric,
yeah.
Eric
Yeah.
and Maggie,
Yeah.
and
I was confused. Like, when?
yeah, you were not.
You were like,
you
I don't get in the pool.
I think I've been
but
in the
no-
pool like twice this summer.
Oh, it's a shame.
father daughter jumping off together, and then they did it, and I was like, wait a second, that was the first time you've ever both done that.
Yeah,
you realize that.
It was pretty surreal because like we both jumped off, and she did a dive. I'll put that in quotation marks because it's more of like a belly flop. It's very funny. But I dove out and I just like looked left as we're going in. I just had this moment, like it was like slow motion. I was like, this is weird. Like it was like just so
Such independence.
yeah, and just
Yeah.
being like the same time jumping in with your kid and what like it was just I don't know. It was just really cool. Yeah, it was
those
very
are
fun.
great
Sounds
moments.
like a milestone.
It's definitely, especially for her. Yeah, whenever she comes over those mountains that she has in her head. Yeah,
And you and Amy went. You got away a couple weeks ago. Did we talk about that on the pod?
we did.
We did talk
At
about
Hocking
that.
Hill.
Okay.
Yeah. Hocking Hill. But yeah, it was that was beautiful. I recommend anybody go there. Mm-hmm. That's me.
Ethan's here.
I
Ethan's
am
is
here.
here.
Ethan's here.
Tell, how long has it been since you were last on with us?
Started this year. Started 11th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like 10 months ago.
Yeah.
Well, it was when you did an episode, I believe, when I was in New York. Was it the beginning of this year, or was that?
it
like-
was end of last year.
okay.
Beginning of 11th grade, end of last year.
Okay.
So, anyways, yeah,
We'll say
since
end of last year.
since Jay's out, he decided to step up to the plate and sit at the table with us.
Love it.
What's going on with you? How's summer vacation going for you?
Summer before the old senior year.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it's good. It's good. I've been playing a lot of video games with people because that's like the only way I can see them now. Although I do have my license now, so I could see them anytime I want. I just don't want to. But namely, my two best friends, Nick and Sammy. Me and Sammy play a lot of Destiny together. We've been.
Grinding it out,
hmm
You've been working a lot,
torturing yourself.
I have been working a lot.
too. Yeah.
Now, Nick's in your grade, right?
Yeah.
But Sammy graduated.
Sammy
is that right?
graduated, yeah.
Okay. Where's he going? What's he doing?
He's going to CCAC this year.
Cool.
And
So is he
maybe next
living
year.
local?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
He's staying around for a year or two, and then he has his eye on Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. Yeah.
Edinburgh. Edinburgh and Point Park, and then, but he's favoring Edinburgh.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been working?
A lot, yeah.
What you doing now?
Seneca.
Okay.
I'm in Seneca.
Serving.
Well,
Serving
same thing
food.
you were doing last time
Yeah.
then, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Still
but you've been able to get some other positions, dishwashing
Yeah,
or
dishwashing, coffee.
what do you like best?
serving normally.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because dishwashing and coffee, you get paid more because you work longer.
Yeah.
But dishwashing, you have to mop the floors, sweep the floors, do all the dishes. And it's so frustrating when like everyone comes in and you're like, yes, finally I have them all done. Huge stack of plates of yours.
Another
And I'm
brand new
like,
stack.
It's never ending.
never ending. But
Amy did that when she was growing up. She liked being a dishwasher.
yeah.
Wait, at Seneca?
Uh huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I kind of liked it too.
My Amy worked there too. And let me ask you a question, Ethan.
Gosh,
because
you worked at Seneca too?
Yeah.
I
Did
never
you?
worked.
Me and
no.
you? All right.
Yeah, I never.
I knew Deanne.
We're the outsiders.
I knew I knew Deanne from church. Like I've known
Okay.
her. Gosh, it's 24 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
As long as Chris has been married.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at that.
How about that? But Ethan, I wanted to ask you. So, my Amy always talks about she waited tables and cleaned rooms.
Yeah.
Is there such a combo of a position anymore?
No,
I didn't
not-
think so because
not
none
for
of you
dietary.
young guys have ever
Yeah,
said that sort of thing. Okay,
that
it's
would be
separated.
for the housekeepers.
Okay, because
Yeah.
she loved that because she's like she'd get to like visit with the old people for a little bit during like the meal, but then she'd just get to work on her own, like cleaning rooms individually.
Well, and I think probably more during the school year, at least back when we were doing it, the housekeepers would serve like breakfast and lunch, and then do the rooms and
Yeah,
stuff.
that's how they do it now.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Housekeepers
Yeah.
do breakfast, lunch.
Yeah,
And
and then
then
usually
other
like
staff does
the
dinner.
college, high school
Okay.
kid crew comes in for like nighttime, and then
So
weekends.
maybe
it's,
she-
mix.
Did a different shift
I
or
think
whatever.
I think Amy might have done that too a little bit just to pick up some extra hours, to earn some extra money, like doing rooms. I'd have to ask her, but yeah.
Yeah. On like Saturdays and Sundays, the regular staff does everything.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. That's cool. I appreciate your answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lex is joining us on the stream.
What?
Shout out to Lex.
Yay, Mama Lex.
What's up, Lex? How's it going?
And you're contemplating. So you're going into your senior year. You're contemplating Dickinson
I am.
College. You're contemplating.
Where's Dickinson?
Out in Carlisle. Like
Is that
2.5
not?
PA.
That's
Yeah.
a law
Okay.
school. I thought. Is it more than that? No, it is a law school.
Yeah.
But you can do like pre-law there. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cool.
And you're kind of settled on doing some kind of law or
Yeah.
mediation or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, acting's the big dream, but
Sure.
law's a lot more reliable.
I would say so.
Yeah.
And it still pays good money.
Well,
Like
yeah.
if you do acting, you could get anywhere from like $100 a movie to $100 million a movie.
Right.
Like, you see Robert Downey Jr.
about
getting
100 million.
Well, it depends on who you are.
Robert Downey Jr. getting 5 minutes of screen time for $1 million.
I bet you if you have like a deal for like a trilogy or something,
Yeah.
like you're talking big money.
Yeah.
Well, I know people that have been in commercials, and they're 5-10 seconds in the commercial. That's their screen time, but they're national commercials. They
Yeah.
make bank.
Yeah.
Like it can be crazy how much you make.
Dude, Flo from Progressive.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Even if you did that, if you were an
Like-
actor and you get like a position like that, it was like Flo for like the
She's got the money flowing.
Oh, dude, she does, dude. She's making bank. She's
I'd
making
do
bank.
that for sure. Like Jake from State Farm.
Heck yeah.
And like you're not in this like the public spotlight and you're not like scrutinized or anything nearly as scrutinized, but like you're making a lot of money.
But actually, just thinking about this like out loud, she could do that, go film, and then it runs, and then
Right.
she's collecting the checks, and then she could go do
Go
like
get a
stage,
sitcom or
go
something.
like stage
Right.
shows on Broadway or
Right.
something,
Or she could be a lawyer.
or could she be a lawyer on the side, in all her spare time?
Well, she is progressive,
Yeah.
She's Flo from Progressive.
Yeah. I am nursing a sprained ankle. It's
Still?
yeah, dude. It's
You gotta stop throwing Maggie in the pool.
well, 2 weeks ago at hockey, I got just ran over. I was down, and two guys just ran right into me. I bent all the way backwards. So it's a decently significant injury, and I have to walk. So it's not like I can just stay off my feet. But
Right.
yeah, I mean it's I'm very grateful I didn't hurt myself worse, or I didn't get hurt worse. But it sucks,
Yeah,
Like,
especially with vacation coming up.
Yeah.
You're gonna be doing some walking.
yeah, but I should be all right because I also played hockey last Friday. I shouldn't have.
It was
Definitely.
against me.
I
might
mean, I
add.
can see why you're nursing this thing.
Well, I've been nursing it around playing hockey on it last week, so I'm a hockey player. I mean, we're pretty thick-headed.
That game was against me, by the way.
Yeah,
And we won.
it was fun. It was a good
Goalie
game.
dad versus
Yeah,
goalie son.
I love it
Yeah,
so
that is
much.
fun.
Although I really am starting to get annoyed because his team keeps beating me, and he's playing great. Like
Yeah.
he plays well, but
Yeah,
it's getting
gotta have good
annoying.
goaltending.
I think my team is undefeated this season, if I'm not wrong.
Could be.
Pretty
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about this meal that I made a couple weeks ago too.
Pineapple.
Yes. Yeah. So I made this meal, and it took probably 15 minutes to prep and 2.5 hours or 3.5 hours to cook. But what I did is I took a pineapple and shaved off the rind, dipped it in barbecue sauce. I took a rack of baby back ribs. You rub it, with paprika and whatever
Seasoning.
your favorite rub is.
Seasoned it up.
Seasoned it up. wrapped it around the pineapple that had been dipped in
Oh my
barbecue
gosh.
sauce,
Yeah.
skewered it together, put it into foil, and then like in a small pan, and then put it and cooked it for 3.5 hours.
In the oven or
Yeah.
okay.
It was so delicious.
So good.
The pineapple was it was so good.
That sounds
I
amazing.
saw it on
It does.
Instagram.
It's-
I was just scrolling through
yeah.
Instagram, and this guy's like, "Oh, look what I did." And
Brian
I'm like,
showed me
"That
the
looks
video.
good."
Yeah. Did you have to put water in the pan at all? No.
Nope.
Man,
It was really
I'm gonna
good.
try that.
It's
Guaranteed.
moist from the inside out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
That's what he
And-
said.
And the presentation of it was nice because like you cook it with like the pineapple, the top of the pineapple.
Oh, I see.
You know,
Yeah,
like the
you leave the leaf.
grassy leafy
Yeah.
things. So that then when it's done, you cut it off. I put it in the center of a plate and then just piled everything
Beautiful
around
presentation.
Yeah.
it. It was, man. Like if you're looking to impress,
So you don't put any sauce on the ribs.
nope, just the rub.
Yeah,
Dry
ju-
rub, yeah.
Yep, just the dry rub. And
Yeah, I do wanna
the
try
juice. You know, the juices, everything cooked together, and then once it's done cooking and you've put it out on the plate, then you take the all that liquid that had cooked with it and kind of dump it on, the pineapple
So
and
you-
everything on the plate.
You really did nail it.
Yes,
Because like you see those things like, oh, nailed it. You can
Yeah.
never quite do it like
This one seems like it's pretty
pretty
foolproof. Yeah,
Nice.
I love those recipes.
And again, it's like it was a 3-minute, 2-minute Instagram video, and I was like, man, this looks good. I could do this. So yeah, and we're also preparing for vacation. We won't be here next week. We will be in New York. We're doing something cool where the first part we're going into Manhattan and we're going to do some of the Manhattan stuff. We're going to go see a Broadway show, actually, The Who, Tommy.
nice.
Oh,
We're gonna go
cool.
see that. We were going to see something else, but the tickets were a little bit out of our price range. So the Who, the Tommy's Who, or Who's Tommy. That was it's a good show. It's been around forever.
yeah, that's actually one I wouldn't mind seeing.
Yeah. So we're gonna
Love
do
the music from that. Pinball Wizard's great.
Yeah, Pinball Wizard is cool.
doing that, and then we're gonna spend a couple days camping, glamping in Long Island. Going to the beach, and then we're gonna come back and do Gettysburg. Which is, we're going to be there for like a day and a half, but we're going to do a haunted tour at night.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
gonna be
it's like a
cool.
candlelit
Oh, that's awesome.
night haunted tour of like all these different places. So looking
I'm
for
really excited for that part.
Yeah, that's gonna be really interesting.
And I'm
Yeah.
taking my bow and arrow because there's going to be like a shooting range or something.
Oh, cool.
not at Gettysburg,
Not at Gettysburg.
at the
Oh.
campground.
Oh,
at
at
the
camp.
campground,
Yeah,
but yeah.
nice.
Just I thought it was maybe in case the Confederates attacked again or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot ghosts.
That-
I want to give a shout out to Bethany Jaworski
Yeah.
and Mary Lynn and
Bethany J.
Ashley and. I always want to say Breaking Bad, but it's Breaking 90. Thank you for sitting at the table with us. Everybody sits at the table, but you guys sit a little closer.
Yeah, and you can become a paid subscriber if you go to lunchtimeinrome.com and click to subscribe and select paid. And we want to get some new microphones, so we are looking to replace and get some new equipment. So we appreciate all your help, and you guys are producers of the show. Everybody who donates is a producer and helps us out. And if you enjoy this content, please consider doing that.
How
We would love
do
it.
people donate though? Like if I
when you
wanted to
when you become a
give you my
subscriber,
money-
when you become a subscriber, you can like put in your own dollar amount that you would want. If you want to put in $1 a month, cool. If you want to put in $1,000 a month, great.
So go to lunchtimeinrome.com and then click find the subscribe.
Yeah, you'll find it when you go there. It'll lead the way.
It'll lead the way.
Yeah.
Well, other things that lead the way are when you spot major moments
Wow.
in life.
What a segue.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But spotting the major moments, spotting, and there's lots of different kinds of moments to spot, significant moments. It could be the person that you're going to marry. You spot them in a crowd and, whatever. It could be a new job opportunity. There's lots of times where we find things that if we're not looking, we're not going to identify them. But in this context, we're talking about spotting moments to be able to join people and not have them be alone, which is, because being alone is the worst. And that's really what this podcast is about. But I feel like as much as we've talked about it, I'm still going through life sometimes and going, man, why didn't I join that person there? You
Yeah.
know, and so we're going to talk tonight a little bit about how to spot those moments, what to do when you recognize those moments. And I was thinking about this in Jay's absence. You know, I kind of said, you know, I'll come up with something. And so I was thinking about it. And I was sitting with Lex the other day, and we were talking. She was telling me a story about her and her mom, her teenage years, and you know, you go through the adolescent stuff. You go through the let's say, you know, some of the body changes and stuff like that. And she was talking about a specific thing that her mom just was very callous about, just very dismissive about. And it's like one of those major moments for a girl that that's when you realize a lot of things are changing, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too into it, but anyways,
No,
like,
but you need your mom.
but you need your mom in that moment, you know? And so she was just saying, like, and I just had this moment where I was just sitting there in the bathroom and I was just alone, you know? And I was like, man, I feel so sorry for you as that girl that was 13 years old going, this is the moment my mom should have been here for me. And she just kind of blew it off.
Right. And who do you go to?
And who do you go to?
Yeah, in that moment, you feel like there's nobody else.
Yeah.
Like, need your mom.
Right. And so I could have walked right past that opportunity. And then I thought if I had walked past that opportunity to comfort her, that would have almost been a double hurt. You know what I mean?
Double alone.
Because her mom felt like...
double alone.
Because her mom feels like... I mean, she felt like her mom left her alone, and now she would feel like...
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you were.
And we've talked about that a lot in healing when we talk about, you know, sharing those hurts from early on years. You know, you're comforting that little boy or girl at that age.
Right.
You know, Jay talks about when he was 12 and his dad left, and Rachel comforting him on like how alone and scared that little boy must have been, because like nobody was doing that. You know, everybody's sorry.
Right,
You know,
right.
people are sorry, but who's actually joining that little boy? You know, nobody's really doing that in the right way.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly what I was going to say is
good.
that Jay story always sticks out to me.
Yeah.
You know, because it means so much to him. But before Rachel said, I see that little boy and everything she said, her first reaction was, I don't know what to say. You know, like she doesn't know what to say about that. And then she had to learn how to join him. And then she joined him so well that he talks about it, you know, a lot. It was such a meaningful thing for him.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to just, you know, again, does anybody else here have a story of you consciously recognizing that significant moment recently in which you intentionally successfully joined somebody and what happened? And this is where, Chris, you were talking about joining Amy because Ben is normally taking that walk.
Sure.
So
yeah.
you guys said, wait a second, Amy will feel alone if we don't take the place of Ben.
Right.
Do you know what Amy's highest emotional needs are?
Security.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing. It used to be security. Yeah, when we just, you know, did our marriage thing and took the questionnaire again, they were slightly different. And her highest is approval, belonging, followed by appreciation. And then it's funny because her security had moved down and her respect had risen.
Really?
Up. Yeah, it was
That's
very
great.
It was very interesting.
No, that's great because she
deserves
as long as as long as I've known her,
Yeah.
she has had such a self-condemnation,
Yeah.
like so much self-condemnation. So to hear her need for respect going
Yeah.
up,
That's
that tells me
interesting.
she's healing.
That's a cool take. Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
like the whole walking thing, like you were talking about, like that feels like belonging. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I would say it's not exactly coming alongside her to comfort her, but it was like a proactive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is in this case, which can also be something to keep your eyes out for. Is like, okay, you know, instead of having a hurt happen and then come alongside, which is that's
She
good.
She comes back
Yeah.
from a walk on the day before you guys leave, like all lonely, and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah. Oh, I should have done this 2 weeks ago.
You want to go for another walk?
I'll make it all up to you right now.
Yeah, in one walk.
But you're right. Like when you start looking out for those things proactively, and then you
Yeah.
can be like, okay, here's a moment that's happening where like we
Yeah.
can come alongside. Would I have thought of it on my own? Man, I don't know. But it was really awesome that we were able to like have that conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's huge because like if somebody can let you know
Yep.
Yeah.
ahead of time. For me, most recently, it's been Amy's mom passing away, and Amy has a high need of support. So a lot of my things to meet her needs, it's not necessarily like, yes, like I've comforted her. I've tried comforting her at least. I think I've done a good job, but like for her specifically, meeting her needs in this time, and still, like it means supporting her, meaning like taking things off of her plate. So like even like little things like making her lunch for the next day, just so she doesn't have to do it, so it's off of her mind. Just like things like that have been huge. And like obviously like after Amy's mom passed away, like in that immediate, I'm like, all right, whatever I can do, you just tell me what I need to do. I'll take Maggie if I need to take Maggie.
Yeah.
While you and your dad sort some things out, I'll take Maggie while you go through some of your mom's things, and all that kind of stuff.
And again, that's not coming alongside to comfort, but it, like in a layman's term, it is comforting.
Right.
Like to have your needs met is comforting.
Yeah. And I've been over, to their house, and I've helped, clean things up and been, doing that kind of thing too. So, but yeah, much coming alongside and helping and supporting is huge for her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
E, any moments where you've consciously recognized comforting somebody, or
Nothing I can think of off
All right.
the top of my head.
That's okay.
That's
but that's where
okay.
most people find themselves, right? So
that's why we're here talking
that's
about
exactly right. So now,
Yeah.
like, because Jay always says, like, at first you just don't even know,
Right.
And then when you finally know that this even exists, that you should be looking out,
Yep.
you miss it, like you said before, Brian.
Yep.
You're like, oh, I should have done this,
Yeah.
and that's a good step.
Yeah.
And then eventually you kind of start catching on.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna explore here, because
I know I've done it before.
yeah,
A lot of time. to people.
especially for somebody your age, you do a very good job of recognizing it. Sometimes it's after the fact, but still that can be okay, because you're still, you still are recognizing it. But there are moments that we miss it. We go, like, why didn't I join that person? Do you guys have any of those recently where you went, oh man, like I missed an opportunity? Because it really is like one of these disciplines that once you start and once you develop, you will know, like, something, oh man, I missed a chance.
For me, that usually happens. I can't think of a specific one, but it usually happens when I'm in like a situation I didn't see coming, or like, I guess I should say, like I'm doing something. I'm on my way somewhere. I've got some other focus, and then like I get into a conversation with somebody, like. And my gut instinct is like, okay, let's get this over with fast, because I just got to move on.
Yeah.
And so my brain is not
Right.
focused, and I feel like I'm getting better, but that still happens from time to time. I'm like,
definitely that way.
yeah,
Right.
like just okay, I'll see you later.
That's horrible. I
Sucks
gotta
to
go.
be you. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I've missed some moments. I'm trying to. I don't know if I have any specific ones that have happened lately.
Well, but I'm glad that you said that, because we are gonna talk about what happens in those moments, and
Yeah.
Well, and might I say, like, sometimes it's really uncomfortable
To what? To comfort somebody?
to
Or-
like somebody's, because sometimes I'm like, and we've talked about, like, we're not a Christian podcast, but we're Christians doing a podcast, but we've talked about like asking Jesus, like, what do I say here? And like sometimes I'll get two in my head, I'm like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what
Yeah.
to say. I don't know what to say. And it'll be lame, but I'm not. I know what not to say,
Yeah.
which I also feel is good, because
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there's times where I'm like, man, I wish I could just, because there's been some things that Jay has said, and I'm like, dude, you're just next level sometimes. Like there's just times where I'm like, that's I didn't even see that.
I think it also depends on like your relationship with that person. Like if it is a minor acquaintance or even a stranger
Or a person that annoys you.
or that, like it's your reactions are gonna, or at least your instinctual reactions are gonna be
Yeah,
different. So you have to like
Yeah.
monitor yourself and
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you guys are touching on some of the things that we're going to talk about a little bit later too.
Okay.
So,
All right.
but yeah, so some of this might sound familiar because we have talked about it, especially, these significant moments. We have talked about, I think, around episode 190 or so. But I think one of the first things that we can do that you guys were alluding to is just be open to the fact that this day will provide you with opportunities. I kind of like sometimes when I think about it, I think like I'm an emotional treasure hunter, and like if you're open to it, you're going to life will deliver you those clues for you to go kind of mine for that treasure.
it is an ongoing. I know I've mentioned it on the podcast before, many times probably, how it's an ongoing thing for me to get out of my own head. And like, I'm sure that's a lot of people who like you wake up and you're thinking, okay, what do I have to do? What's my next step? Oh man, I'm anxious about work. I've got this going on. Yeah. And there's a freedom to getting outside yourself and being like, okay, I know the steps I need to take that I shouldn't have to hyper focus on those. I can open myself up to just seeing people, hearing people.
Right, and that goes into something that I recognizing and disciplining our main character syndrome.
Oh yeah.
Be like when somebody pointed out to me that most of us today have some degree of main character syndrome, it's all about us. And when Ethan was growing up, this kid was so high energy.
I remember that.
He had so much beautiful energy, but he sucked it out from everybody else around you. And actually the other day up at the pool, I said something similar to Maggie.
Yeah, it's Maggie now.
Yeah, where I used to say to Ethan, "This ain't the Ethan show,"
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and I had to say the same thing to Maggie the other day. She was hungry or whatever. I was bringing all this stuff up, like just impromptu. Like, okay, people are at the pool. They're getting hungry, so I went to Aldi and bought some stuff, and I came up with some peanuts, and I put them in front of her, not for her to eat. I just was like setting stuff down, and she went, "I don't like nuts," and I said, "Well, this isn't the Maggie show." So. To your point, Chris, that you've made a couple times is you get lost in your head, you get lost trying to do your own thing. And that, I think speaks to that main character syndrome. And so in order to combat that, I think that there needs to be an ongoing humility to know that this isn't about me. Everybody's on their journey. I'm journeying along with everybody else. And yeah, I have to do, the things that I have to do, but I am not the main character. Anybody else want to chime in here?
No, that's good.
Yeah, you're doing great. I'm just looking at your outline, your beautiful outline.
Yeah,
and talking about some of the clues to look for. Is that where you're going next?
We skipped down a little bit,
Yeah.
so let's finish the
Okay,
D,
cool.
Let's finish the D1. So the
main character syndrome.
The main character syndrome.
Dude, self-awareness, reading the room.
Well, mindfulness. Like let's hit mindfulness real quick because you can do the self-awareness, but mindfulness, and that's what you're talking about, Chris, is being present. You can be sitting here talking to somebody, but your mind is
right
on 1,000 different things. Mindfulness is being in this moment right here, so that you can give your all to that person.
Yeah,
it took me a while to learn that because, especially when I was younger,
to learn mindfulness,
like all of this stuff on this.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, all kids want some sort of attention.
Sure,
they're always
kids are very selfish.
The amount of times that Maggie says, "Daddy, look," or "Mommy, look," in a day, it's limitless. It's just
and this whole
kids
thing is a lifelong journey.
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah,
you're not gonna reach the finish line. Like, oh, I'm good now. I've met every single need, and it's
Right.
all over.
I'm 47 and I am complete.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, if we're done with mindfulness, because that kind of dovetails into self-awareness, because reading the room, going along with the theme of attention, kids need a lot of attention. They want a lot of attention, and some adults do. One of the emotional needs is attention, and we've talked about that before, and we've talked about how it's sometimes, people take it as it's like the red-headed stepchild of the emotional needs, but
Attention.
yeah, because like who wants to think that, oh, I need a lot of attention. Like, nobody wants to think that way, but there are people that do want attention. But I've noticed, like, some people, not at this table, but some people, when you're in a room and you can see a person and you can just tell they have a high need of attention, and they are stealing it. They're robbing it from the room.
Right.
And there's sometimes where I'm like, can you just not, and like, let Chris tell his story right now, and like, stop interrupting and stop telling about your story.
Ethan.
And,
I haven't said a word.
but like, just be self-aware, like, just chill out, listen to let them finish their story. Don't try to one up them with your story. Just let them talk, and then like, let it settle a little bit. Let them have that moment.
That is, and like you said, it's the redheaded stepchild, or it's the black sheep of the emotional needs family. Like, it's just,
and it is, if you're stealing it. Like,
everybody can spot that.
But if you're aware, if you have a high need of attention, and you can learn that skill of like when, because Jay has a high need of attention.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a high need of attention. Brian, I think you have a high need of attention, if I'm not mistaken.
Somewhat with some people.
Yeah.
In
And
some situations. Sometimes.
That's one thing. Like, I enjoy being around Jay. Like, we'll go disc golfing, and he'll just talk, and I'm like, this is great. I don't say a word. He'll just talk, and I love it because, like, he just tells a great story. But he could just talk about a trip to Aldi, and it's like interesting, and he dissects it and dissects moments, and I'm like, this is great, and I'm entertained, and like, I'm giving him attention, and it works out. But like, yeah, like, be aware of the room, and if people start like leaving, like, if you're standing around having a drink with somebody, and people are like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and they don't come back, it might be a sign. I don't know.
I feel like I'm pretty good at reading the room, except in Quiplash. I'm not great at Quiplash, but like other times, like I feel like I'm good at like reading what people are feeling and what they need, what they need to hear.
Yep.
I think for somebody that's 17 years old, you do a pretty good job of that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, this isn't like a big, like, not spotting a big moment, but one thing I thought about this and reading the room was like, when we go to work, like, some people hug, because like, we go into work once a week. Some people don't, but and if you're not a hugger, but if you see somebody that like comes in and they're like putting their arms out, like, that's a tell. Like, that person probably likes affection. They like a good hug. And like, you can meet that. That's a simple one that you can just meet.
Well, let's go back to that one when we
My bad.
Yeah, no.
I want to, before we even move on.
I'm glad you brought it up.
So I wanted, and this is a great point that Eric's been making. I wanted to ask Brian, is that what you meant by self-awareness? Like, obviously it's self, but you're talking about how you're affecting the room when you say,
you're affecting the room. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay.
Nailed it.
Yeah. And right. And so, and the opposite, well, not the opposite of that, the extreme of that, we might have even talked about it in our, what do we call it? Like the toxic, or the, what was our series on?
Yeah.
All the extremes. I forget the exact name. Yeah, sure.
One of them.
But like being a people pleaser, like you can be aware, like Ethan said, I'm really good at, I think, reading people's needs in the room and just sort of the atmosphere and what people are thinking. And it can go to an extreme. I guess anything can, but I was thinking about how like Amy and I both in the past have suffered from being people pleasers, and just like we just, we'll just do.
You're reading the room too much.
Yeah, almost. And it's like affecting us, and it's like, it goes overboard.
That's a really interesting point. Being objective.
Being objective is certainly a thing.
Well, go ahead and read that one.
Being objective is really looking at the other person's point of view empathetically and without judgment.
Yeah, so I think we can come into conversations or situations with our own story already prepared, and I think one of the ways where to go back into disciplining that main character syndrome that we have, in order to be able to spot the moment and then take advantage of it, is to maybe leave our own story of this person or this situation at the door and see what's actually being said. See
Yeah.
what's you know what I mean? Like we bring in our own judgments and things like that. And I think that clouds us from our ability to spot truly being able to comfort other people.
Yeah. And that can be so hard because I think it's very natural for us to obviously our perception is based on our own experiences and things that we see and that we hear, and so we tend to, or even with with that specific person, even like that, oh, I've seen them do this, or I've heard them do this, or they're probably thinking this, and you start putting all these thoughts onto them, these preconceived notions when it may be the case, but it may not be the case. And to come in with an open mind is that it takes practice, but it's so worth it.
And I was gonna say, in today's age, just the way, I mean, I don't know, media, and we're getting bombarded, and I feel like just the country, other countries, the world, we're so polarized. So when you look at somebody through a lens of they might not be on your side of the fence, politically, or whatever, social, conversations and whatnot, you have that in your head of putting that before just comforting the person in something that they're actually hurting.
And that's to the next point, is the confirmation bias, is we are constantly looking for ways to confirm what we believe.
Right.
So we often can miss an opportunity to comfort other people because we are so set in our, I have to prove to myself my own case, that maybe that's not the time to do that. Maybe you just need to listen to the other person and join them. And it's okay to be, you don't need that. You don't need to stay in that safe and secure little box of yours, because if you try to do that, you're probably going to miss being able to, authentically join somebody who probably, or, may think differently than you, or, believe different things than you.
Yeah. For me, having friends, maybe even some at this table, with sort of different political views or worldviews and certain, I don't want to include worldviews.
Philosophies.
But differences, but then also realizing, oh yeah, but when we start talking about this subject, we feel very similar to, in this subject and this subject, and you realize we all kind of want the same sorts of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, we've had those conversations.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same with relational needs, that you start to realize, oh, I don't, I've heard this person be, whatever way that sort of puts your defenses up in another setting, but in this setting, I'm hearing the human side of them. Even though I've disagreed with them on this and that, and but oh man, they're really hurting.
Yeah.
And just being able to put those guards down and like you said, the confirmation bias, just let that go by the wayside and just
You don't have to win that trial case in your head in that moment.
Just
it's
listen.
not about that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So those are kind of recognizing and disciplining our main character syndromes. But Eric, you were talking about, you're going to work and somebody's putting their hands out, and you're like, "Hey, that's a context clue." What are I was thinking about what are some of the to go back to the point about kind of being an emotional treasure hunter and looking for those opportunities. What are some of those clues? The person putting their arms out to get a hug, but what are some of those other clues that we can look for to say that is a trigger point right there? That is a moment.
Yeah.
I list some of the things there too.
Oh,
I like the one. Do these have to go in order?
They don't have to go in order.
I'm catching on this. I'm
Picking up what you're putting down here.
This is a great one. Saying a lot of words, but not really saying anything of substance. Like that type of person is probably the type of person that I most quickly want to get out of a conversation with.
Yep.
And so
They just
I
talk.
really have to watch myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a discipline. Like, and there is, we've talked about setting boundaries and like, you have to boop some people in the nose, especially people that you're seeing regularly. But there is something to be said for that person. Like, they need to be, there's something going on with them that they're talking so much. So what is that? Now, sometimes you have to walk away from them, but other times it is like, why are you talking so much about nothing?
Right.
And
it could be like, I mean, I would obviously think, oh, attention. They need some attention.
Yeah, nice. Good point.
And when you realize that, for example, it in my head, it makes it a little bit easier to be like, you know what? I'm just going to stand. I'm just going to let them talk, and I'm going to meet their need for attention for a few minutes. And you have to, like you said, you have to draw a line, create a boundary, whatever, boop them on the nose.
Yeah.
But just that, like, oh, they're really needing this. Maybe they don't get that elsewhere, and so I'll just be the patient person who allows them to get a little bit of that out.
Here's your 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And then I'm gone, but here's your 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What else?
What are some other character clues that we can see in people?
We got tired, cranky, short-tempered, complaining.
That's
Gossip.
quite a lot.
That's a lot.
Well, like the Debbie, like I was
Debbie
thinking,
Downer.
Debbie
womp
Downer.
womp.
Right.
like
Wah,
Debbie
wah.
Debbie Downer has gone through some trauma.
Yeah.
Debbie Downer is a person loaded, and we all know somebody like that, whether it's work or our social circles or whatever. Like that person is a flashing red light of, like, again, it's one of these things like we probably don't want to join them. We probably don't want to. We want to run from them, but they could be joined.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes it's simple of like, like that feels heavy.
Yeah.
Like, man, I can just feel the weight of that. And a lot of times, like when you do something like that, you'll lighten them up a little bit,
Yeah.
and like you'll kind of steer the conversation in a different direction.
I feel when I think about that, maybe not everything on that list, but specifically like the Debbie Downer-ishness of like, oh, sure, this sounds okay, but so that kind of person's always waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? And so I think about it as like security, and like like you said, Brian, they're hurt. Like their security, for example, has been taken away enough times that they're like, okay, even though it seems like something good is happening in this moment, I just know it's not gonna last. It's not gonna really be good when the other shoe drops. So I'm just gonna look at it from that negative. And so that, I don't know, that hits me in security. So yeah, coming alongside them, and that, I mean, this goes to the whole other. This is not what we're talking about in this episode per se, but like the practice of identifying what those needs are.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, is this security? Is this? And at first you're guessing if it's not someone that you're openly discussing, emotional and relational needs with.
Yeah.
So you're kind of guessing, but like, oh, maybe this is security. And so you can like provide them a little bit of that, like whether it's just listening and being like, that sounds rough, but
Just kind of confirming.
yeah, like, okay, this is tough. And you don't want to do facts, logic, and reason too soon. You don't want to be like, that probably won't happen.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to make them feel less secure.
Yeah.
We all walk in different spheres of life, and in each of our spheres, we have the opportunities, and we can implement strategies. But there's also maybe limitations and legalities, even in spotting these moments that we can still take advantage of things. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm thinking about Chris specifically, like you're a teacher. You teach kids. Like, you're trained to spot abuse. You're trained to kind of keep your eyes peeled, but there's also a very, very limited amount that you can do. I feel like in today's day, like the legalities, like you have to, as somebody that knows how to do these kind of things, you're wide open to it, but then there's also like restrictions that you probably have. Like, you can't go put a kid on your lap and say, "Hey, kid, everything's gonna be all right,"
Yes. I just did that yesterday. No, I'm just kidding.
Look, that's your private life. As long as you weren't being a teacher.
No. Yes, there are limitations, and I will add legalities. Yeah. I will add. There's also for me. There's the limitation of time. So like a class will roll in. Let's say they have 25 kids, and I only see them for 40 minutes before they roll out again, and there's another group of 25 kids coming in.
Right.
But there are little things that I've learned to do, like especially when I was teaching older kids, I was definitely more about we got to get this lesson done. We're gonna like focus on the topic at hand. Da, 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 da. In more recent years, when I'm teaching elementary, I try to be a lot more empathetic to like, because I mean these little kids like. They can come in with some big baggage that I'm not privy to,
Right.
but that I can
tell.
still, but you could still just tell like, oh man, I don't know what happened at home, or I don't know what happened on the bus this morning, or I don't know what happened with, in the cafeteria. But even without knowing exactly what happened, I can still try to, rather than like, they're talking to their friend, or they're upset and stomping their feet, or they're doing this, instead of me lashing out, I try to be a little more empathetic and be,
Right.
like give them a moment, or just give them
Some encouragement.
some kind words. Yeah.
Right.
And like try to just let them know that
Yeah.
they're not alone, or they're
Right.
not,
Yeah.
And it is very limiting, which I know that's what we're talking about at the moment. Like it is very
But no,
limiting.
this is exactly where I wanted to
But
go.
yeah, because that's like you could take an extra moment with Jimmy,
Right.
Yeah.
and give him a little bit more attention and
Right.
encouragement,
Yeah.
and like if he's having a bad day or whatever, yeah.
And I was thinking about you, Eric, as far as you work in a place that has HR. Like a lot of people, like HR can be such a human resources nowadays. There's some sticky wickets there that you may have to navigate through. So, especially as you've become more of a leader at your job, how are you continuing to spot moments? And you do such a fantastic job of it. But how are you continuing to spot those moments, being cognizant of the lines that you can and can't cross from a HR standpoint? And I'm just using your work as an example because I think it's, a lot of us have
I
this.
just bribe all my coworkers.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
I think a lot of it goes back to reading the room, and like now, like we have a pretty tight team, and like I've known them for years, and one of my coworkers, she had said something one time about I don't know her exact words, but she likes to get praise for things. She likes appreciation, right? And that's one of the highest emotional needs. So I put that in my head, and I was like, okay, this person likes appreciation. So
And you
if
wouldn't have done that if you weren't paying attention.
exactly.
Right.
So if I see a moment, like I'll give her a shout out.
Here's
And-
your shroot bucks.
And well, no, I'll give her a shout out either privately, just like give her like an intentional message over like our chat, or I'll be like, oh man, so and so did a great job at this thing, and just shout that person out,
Yeah.
while like the team is in the room, kind of thing.
And like that builds you so much credit with that person. And so if you
Yeah.
ever need like, hey, I need you to come through on this, they're like,
Yeah.
yep, I'll come through in spades,
I can
I'll
tell
do
you
it tomorrow.
this person has my back.
Yeah.
Like I could call and I'll be like, I need to bury
And that's
a body.
not why you shout them out. It's
Right.
you shout them out
No,
genuinely
I've
because
earned that trust and that because I could call to bury a body and they'd be like, all right, I'm grabbing my shovel, I'll be over in 5 minutes. Like
yeah.
Well, and I like to think, and this does not always happen. I've been guilty of not doing this in the past. But when you meet somebody else's emotional needs, it is what you're talking about, but they start to feel that like, oh, there's like a little bit of a bond there. So like, I'm gonna meet their needs,
Yeah.
and like, so yeah.
or like they'll come to you for something.
It almost becomes like a currency. And again, that's not why you do it, but you build that. It's just a natural byproduct of
Right.
joining people is that you're building a currency, you're building a trust. And so when you're down, when you need something, they're either going to recognize it or you could go to and ask them and say, look, and they're going to be that person that's going to be there for you. you navigate the halls of high school.
Navigate's one word for it.
Now, you don't necessarily have an HR department. There's not like, but it's a very tricky place to be. And I know that there's not a lot of emotional needs being met in high school. I know this in a lot of ways. This past year you had a lot of things taken from you. How do you put into practice in your spheres what we're talking about here? How do you keep an eye out for the moments where you can join somebody? And you can be honest, if you don't, you don't.
Well, my main priorities are like keeping people's emotional needs that I was taken away from. I focus on those ones first, and then other ones that...
You mean like the ways that you were hurt, you're
Yeah.
looking for that in other people, and you're trying to meet those.
Because it's
So
easily recognizable
Right,
in other
yes.
people.
You know how
that's
it feels.
a
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, needs you have are more easily recognizable than others.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good point.
And then just the other ones, I like try to meet other ways. But like one of my friends, she's going through a pretty bad situation right now, and it's like a whole thing. And I was with her like a week or two ago, and she was like crying about it and stuff. And I was just with her. I was like, it's okay, you'll get through this. I was just like trying to help her as best I could.
Mm-hmm.
So even in that, just saying you're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that goes to earning the right to be heard. You've created an environment with this person, a relationship with this person, where they know that in this moment, they can come to you because you've earned that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, looking back at high school, there are so many missed moments.
So many.
Like even just thinking, like musical stuff. Like obviously, some people are better at acting and singing than other people, but like man, if you could like,
You
but
don't
if
have it.
but if you could, if you could find that one that's just kind of discouraged and they don't really get a lot of attention, but point out something good that they did.
That's what I try to do with like the
Yeah.
freshmen and
Yes,
everyone, like the new
dude,
people coming
exactly,
up.
because they're scared, they're nervous.
Yeah.
You know how it feels.
Exactly.
Like, they're new.
In my freshman year, I
Yeah.
had this one guy. He was like the best person. He was the lead of the musical my freshman year.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal. Such a great guy. And then he wasn't there the next year. And I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Now I have to be that
Now
guy.
you're that guy. Yeah.
And so this
And that's
past year-
awesome. That,
yeah.
like, you know, yeah, it sucks that he's gone, but you know, it's awesome that you recognize that.
Yeah.
And you get to do that.
And then people like to call me weird for it, but I'm just
Really?
like, yeah. Being
Well,
friends
you're
with
going
freshmen.
you're going against the because like everybody wants you to follow them like a sheep and make fun
And
of other
everybody's so
people.
negative,
I
right,
know
yeah.
they want you to like. Well, no, we got to make fun of that person. I mean, they're
Right.
not saying that, but they're
Right.
saying that under
Right.
And it's like why?
Right.
Like why not like everybody or like
Right.
like
Yeah.
Michael Scott. I have to.
Well, you don't even have to. You
I
don't even
need
have
everybody
to
to
like
me.
everybody, but you can still be constructive and impart good things to people you don't even like. You know.
Well, but my point was like, why are we hating on that person when they're probably a really nice kid? They're hurt inside, and they could just use a little bit more encouragement,
Mm-hmm.
and then that gains your trust, and then like, that can resonate, and then
Right.
they become part of the group. Like because when I was in school, like. When we were freshmen, there were the seniors that kind of adopted us, and like, so then like that person gets pulled into that group, and then the whole group gets tighter,
Right.
and more, just better at meeting needs and pointing out things that should be instead of like focusing on that negative.
And we can all do this. Like whatever sphere you're in, you're not all like. There's times where you're the newbie, and then there's times where you are the grizzled vet. And whatever that circle is for you, whether it's a church group or a work something, whatever it might be, you can be that person that joins the newer person, the outcast, whoever, and come alongside them. And and you do have to earn the right to be heard. That can be something that takes place over a long period of time, or you can do it quickly. I mean, it's different for everybody. Yeah. So to
I didn't realize what time.
yeah.
It was.
So to kind of sum this up, because I always like to put like what are the action steps. I think it goes to first and foremost in what we talked about. Be open. Just be open to the fact that every morning you wake up, every day that you walk through your life, life is going to present you, God is going to present you opportunities to join somebody. So you have to at the very, at the beginning of it all, have that radar on. And then you have to practice, it's not, we've talked about this before. It's not always going to be easy. It's going to be awkward sometimes. You're going to miss it. But as long as you stay open to it and keep working that discipline, it's going to get easier, better, and more natural over time as you do it.
I will say, and like you'll start noticing it more, and then you'll get annoyed watching other people
Yes.
like doing like not doing the
No,
right
you're doing
thing.
it wrong.
Yeah, but that gets you kind of extra bonus points because then that gives you the opportunity to meet their need correctly, and then that person is gonna
I feel like I do that a lot with different people.
Yeah.
Like you're talking to people, and like I remember this one instance very clearly. You're talking to someone about how bad of a night you slept. They tried to one up you and be like, "Oh man, I only slept like 2-3 hours."
Yeah.
And I was like, I turned to him and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you slept bad." And that was it. And he was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much."
Yeah.
So you left your main character syndrome. I mean, you might have been a little snarky, but you humbled yourself and joined that person,
Yeah.
and you recognized the fact that they were one upping you.
Yeah.
Where most people would just be like, "Huh." And then you walk away from the interaction going, I don't know why that didn't feel good. Well, they one-upped me, but I don't know they one-upped me. So I
Right,
walk away
yeah.
feeling weird.
I know.
That-
I know. I do that a lot of other times too.
Yeah.
Like especially with people at my school because they're so emotionally immature.
Yep.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah. So be open to it, practice it, and then take advantage of that. When that moment comes, when that opportunity comes, you take advantage of it. Because the worst thing is to go, there's the opportunity. Okay.
Next time.
Right.
Oh, speaking of next time, that is it for episode 251. Thanks again to Bethany, Mary Lynn, Ashley, and Breaking 90 for sitting at the head of the table. And big thanks to Brian for setting up this episode
Yeah.
because this was fun. Join us next Wednesday live at 8:30-ish for episode 252. Between now and then, please give us a like or follow on social media and visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks as always for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome.
I won't see you guys next week, but I'll
Nope.
see you guys at the table next week.
Hasta luego.
Bye.